David spent 35 years doing everything right. Every single year, rain or shine, recession or boom, he maxed out his RRSP, never missed a contribution, never touched the money. He watched that account grow from $40,000 to $180,000 to $620,000. He retired at 65, feeling like a genius. Then he called his bank to start withdrawing. And his advisor said 4 words that changed everything. You have a problem. Here's what nobody told David for 35 years. The RRSP is a tax deferral account, not a tax elimination account. Every single dollar sitting inside it will eventually be taxed as income. And if you let it grow too large without a withdrawal strategy, the CRA doesn't just take a cut. They take the biggest cut possible. David's $620,000 RRSP, converted to a RRIF at 71 as the law requires, is now generating mandatory withdrawals that are pushing him into a 43% marginal tax bracket every single year. He is paying more tax in retirement than he did when he was working. His neighbor Margaret, same age, similar savings, is paying 18% on her retirement withdrawals. She's keeping $74,000 more per decade than David. The difference? Margaret's advisor told her about something called the RRSP Meltdown strategy 15 years before she retired. David's bank never mentioned it once. Today, we fix that. Here's what we're covering. Chapter 1, the RRSP Time Bomb. Why the account your bank sold you as a retirement miracle can quietly become your biggest tax liability if you don't manage it. Chapter 2, the RRIF Trap. The CRA rule that forces you to withdraw from your RRSP whether you want to or not, and why most Canadians get blindsided by it at 71. Chapter 3, the Meltdown Strategy Explained. What it is, how it works, and why doing it early is worth far more than waiting. Chapter 4, the Pension Income Splitting Superpower. The legal CRA strategy that can cut your household retirement tax bill almost in half, and the exact age it kicks in. Chapter 5, the OAS Clawback Trap. Why a large RRSP can cause the government to claw back your old age security payments, and exactly how to avoid it. And Chapter 6, the one I've been building toward, the complete RRSP exit strategy. The exact withdrawal sequence that Margaret used to keep $74,000 more than David over a decade of retirement. Step by step, starting today. I'm Grace from Money Glow Up. This is education, not financial advice. Always talk to a licensed professional before making moves with your retirement accounts. Let's get into it. Let's make sure we understand exactly what an RRSP actually is, because I think most Canadians have a dangerously incomplete picture. When you contribute to your RRSP, 2 things happen. 1, you get a tax deduction. If you're in a 40% bracket and you contribute $10,000, you get $4,000 back from the government. That feels great. That's the part your bank advertises. Here's the part they don't advertise. The CRA didn't forgive that $4,000 tax. They deferred it. They said, okay, you don't have to pay this now. Pay us when you take the money out, with interest. Because by then, hopefully, your $10,000 has grown to $40,000, and we'll tax all of it. That's the deal. Tax now versus tax later. And tax later is usually the right deal, as long as later means a lower tax rate. If you contribute at 40% and withdraw at 25%, you've won. The 15% gap is permanent tax savings. But here's what nobody models out. What happens if your RRSP grows so large that your mandatory withdrawals in retirement push you into the same tax bracket, or higher, than you were in while working? Then you haven't saved tax at all. You've just delayed it. And you've paid the bank decades of management fees for the privilege of delaying your tax bill. This is David's problem. His RRSP grew so large, $620,000, that the mandatory minimum withdrawals alone generate over $40,000 a year in taxable income. Add his CPP. Add his OAS. Suddenly, David is earning $85,000 a year in retirement income and paying tax at 43%. He made $78,000 when he was working and paid tax at 40%. He is paying more tax retired than employed. The RRSP did not fail David. David failed to plan his exit from the RRSP. Those are two very different problems, and only one of them has a solution. Here's the rule most Canadians don't discover until it's too late. You cannot keep money in your RRSP forever. By December 31st of the year you turn 71, your RRSP must be converted into a RRIF, a Registered Retirement Income Fund. And once you have a RRIF, the CRA requires you to withdraw a minimum amount every single year. No exceptions, no opt-outs, no extensions. The minimum withdrawal percentage starts at about 5.28% at age 71 and increases every year as you get older. By age 80, it's over 6.8%. By age 90, it's 11.92%. The older you get, the larger the mandatory withdrawal as a percentage of your account. Here's why that's a problem if your RRSP is large. Let's say David hits 71 with $620,000 in his RRSP. The minimum withdrawal at 71 is 5.28%. That's $32,700 he must take out, whether he needs it or not. He doesn't get to leave it in the account and let it keep growing tax-sheltered. The CRA says take it out, pay tax on it, and the clock starts ticking on next year's mandatory withdrawal. Now add his CPP, $12,000 a year. Add his OAS, $8,600 a year. David's total income in year 1 of retirement is $53,300, already in a 33% bracket. But David's RRSP keeps growing because he's a conservative investor and the growth rate is outpacing his withdrawals. By 75, his RRSP had grown to $680,000 despite withdrawals. Mandatory withdrawal, 6.27%. That's $42,600. Add CPP and OAS. Total income, $63,200. Now he's at 38%. By 80, if he lives that long and the portfolio keeps growing, he could easily cross $90,000 in annual income. OAS clawback kicks in. Effective tax rate pushes past 50% on some dollars. This is not a worst-case scenario. This is what happens to thousands of Canadians who saved diligently and never planned their exit. The RRIF is not a trap the government set for you. It's a trap that springs when you have no plan. Okay, here's the strategy. And once you understand it, you'll wonder why every bank in Canada isn't screaming it from the rooftops. Spoiler, they're not screaming it because the meltdown strategy involves taking money out of your RRSP before retirement. And banks make money when your money stays inside their managed RRSP products. The core idea is simple. Instead of letting your RRSP grow untouched until 71, when the CRA forces you to start taking it out at whatever tax rate applies then, you strategically withdraw money from your RRSP in the years when your income is lowest. You control the tax rate instead of letting the government choose it for you. For most Canadians, the lowest income window is the gap between retirement and 71. Let's say you retire at 62. CPP doesn't start until 65. OAS doesn't start until 65. Suddenly, you have 3 years, maybe more, where your taxable income is almost nothing. This is your window. This is the moment to take money out of your RRSP and pay tax at 20 or 25% instead of 40 or 43% later. Let me show you the math. David, no meltdown strategy. Takes nothing out between 62 and 71. RRSP grows to $620,000. Forced withdrawals in his 70s and 80s are taxed at 38 to 43%. Margaret, Meltdown strategy. Retires at 62. For 9 years, she withdraws $30,000 per year from her RRSP. Total withdrawn, $270,000. Tax paid on those withdrawals, approximately $50,000. She invests the after-tax proceeds in her TFSA and a non-registered account. Her RRSP at 71. Approximately $320,000, roughly half of David's. Her mandatory RRIF withdrawals are proportionally smaller. Her total retirement income never pushes her above the 28% bracket. Her OAS stays fully intact. Margaret paid $50,000 in tax during the meltdown years. David pays $50,000 in tax every 3 years for the rest of his life. The meltdown is not about avoiding tax. It's about choosing when you pay it and making sure you pay it at the lowest possible rate. There are 3 main meltdown tactics. Let me walk through all 3. Tactic 1, the retirement gap withdrawal. The window between when you stop working and when CPP and OAS begin. If you can live on savings or a pension for a few years, use that window to draw down your RRSP at a low marginal rate. Tactic 2, the spousal RRSP split. If you have a spouse or common law partner in a lower tax bracket, or with no income in retirement, contributions to a spousal RRSP during your working years allow withdrawals to be taxed in their hands instead of yours. This spreads the tax burden across 2 people and 2 sets of brackets. Tactic 3, the TFSA swap. Withdraw from your RRSP in low-income years. Take the after-tax proceeds and immediately contribute them to your TFSA, assuming you have room. Now those funds grow tax-free forever. You've moved money from a tax-deferred account to a tax-free account at the cheapest possible moment. This is the chapter that surprises most couples, and it is almost criminally underused. Starting at age 65, Canadians who receive eligible pension income, including RRIF withdrawals, can split up to 50% of that income with their spouse or common law partner for tax purposes. It's called pension income splitting, and it is one of the most powerful tax reduction tools available to Canadian retirees. Here's how it works in practice. David and his wife Linda file their taxes separately. David has $85,000 in retirement income, a 43% marginal rate on his top dollars. Linda has $22,000 in retirement income, a 20% marginal rate. With pension income splitting, David can attribute up to 50% of his eligible pension income to Linda's tax return. That shifts roughly $30,000 from a 43% bracket to a 20% bracket. The tax saving on that $30,000? Approximately $6,900 per year. Over 20 years of retirement, $138,000 in tax savings. From a 1-page election form filed with their tax return. Here's the critical detail. This only works with eligible pension income. RRIF withdrawals qualify at age 65 and older. CPP has its own splitting mechanism. OAS does not qualify for pension income splitting. And here's the catch. If David's RRSP is enormous and Linda has her own large income, the splitting benefit shrinks. You can't move income into a bracket that's already full. This is another reason to melt down the RRSP before 71. Smaller RRIF means more flexibility to split optimally. The couple that manages their registered accounts together, timing withdrawals, building the spousal RRSP, coordinating the meltdown strategy, will consistently pay less tax than 2 individuals managing their accounts in isolation. This is the one that quietly devastates Canadians who did everything right and never saw it coming. Old Age Security, OAS, is a monthly government payment available to most Canadians at age 65. In 2025, the maximum OAS payment is roughly $8,618 per year. It's not means tested on your lifetime contributions like CPP. You qualify based on how long you've lived in Canada. But here's the trap. If your net income in retirement exceeds a certain threshold, in 2025, that threshold is approximately $90,997. The government starts clawing back your OAS at a rate of 15 cents for every dollar above that threshold. If your income hits roughly $148,000, your OAS is clawed back entirely. You get nothing. Now, $148,000 sounds like a lot. But think about what happens to David. RRIF withdrawal at 80, $46,000. CPP, $12,000. OAS, $8,600. Investment income from non-registered accounts, $22,000. Total income, $88,600. David is just under the clawback threshold. But the next year, his RRIF percentage increased. His portfolio has grown. Mandatory withdrawal is now $52,000. Total income, $94,600. Over the threshold by $3,600. OAS clawback, $540. The year after, $98,000 total income. Clawback, $1,050. And it keeps growing every single year because the RRIF minimum percentage increases and his portfolio refuses to stop growing faster than he can withdraw. Every dollar of clawed back OAS is money David saved for his entire career, paid into the system that he never receives. Margaret? Her meltdown strategy reduced her RRIF withdrawals dramatically. Her total retirement income consistently stays below $82,000. Her OAS, all $8,618 per year, arrives every month. Untouched. Over 20 years, the OAS difference between David and Margaret is $172,360, not counting the clawback penalty years. This is why the meltdown strategy is not just about your tax bracket. It's about protecting every benefit you've earned. Okay, let's build the full system. The exact sequence Margaret used, starting well before retirement. Phase 1, the accumulation phase, working years. Contribute to your RRSP strategically, not blindly. The common mistake is maxing your RRSP every year regardless of income. The smarter play, contribute heavily in high-income years when the deduction is most valuable. In lower-income years, a mat leave, a layoff, a slow year in business, consider contributing to a TFSA instead or saving the RRSP room for a year when your income spikes. Simultaneously, build your spousal RRSP if you have a lower-income partner. Every dollar you contribute to a spousal RRSP is a dollar that can be withdrawn in their lower tax bracket in retirement. Phase 2, the pre-retirement meltdown window, ages 55 to 71. This is Margaret's secret weapon. The moment your income drops, whether from early retirement, reduced hours, or a career transition, begin controlled RRSP withdrawals. The target: withdraw enough each year to fill up your lower tax brackets without crossing into the next one. In most provinces, the first $15,000 to $16,000 of income is taxed at roughly 20 to 25%. If you have little other income, you can withdraw up to $50,000 from your RRSP and pay an effective tax rate of 15 to 20%. This is dramatically lower than the 38 to 43% you'll pay if you leave it all until 71. Immediately take those after-tax withdrawals and do one of three things. Contribute to your TFSA if you have room. Invest in a non-registered account focusing on tax-efficient Canadian dividend ETFs. Or use the funds to delay CPP, which grows 8.4% per year for every year you delay past 65 up to age 70. Phase 3, the CPP and OAS timing decision. CPP can start as early as 60 at a reduced amount or as late as 70 at a dramatically increased amount. Every year you delay past 65 increases your CPP by 8.4%. Every year you take it early reduces it by 7.2%. If you're doing an RRSP meltdown and living on those withdrawals between 62 and 70, you can afford to delay CPP. The combination of lower RRIF withdrawals and higher CPP at 70 can dramatically improve your lifetime income picture. OAS can also be deferred up to age 70, increasing by 0.6% per month, 7.2% per year. If your RRSP meltdown is generating sufficient income in your early 60s, deferring OAS to 70 increases your monthly payment by 36%. Phase 4, the RRIF years, 71 and beyond. By now, if the meltdown strategy worked, your RRSP has been reduced to a manageable size. Your mandatory RRIF withdrawals are lower. Your CPP, delayed to 70, is higher. Your OAS, intact and possibly enhanced. Your TFSA, larger, thanks to years of meltdown contributions. At this stage, use pension income splitting with your spouse. File the T1032 election every year. Coordinate who withdraws what from which account to keep both incomes in the lowest possible brackets. And here's the final piece. Your TFSA at this point is your most powerful tool. It generates zero taxable income. It doesn't affect your OAS clawback calculation. It doesn't show up on your tax return. It's invisible to the CRA. Use your TFSA withdrawals to supplement income in high-expense years, a renovation, a health event, a trip, without triggering tax or clawbacks. The RRIF pays the bills. The TFSA pays for life. Here's the bottom line. The RRSP is not a trap. It is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools Canada has ever created, but it comes with an exit door. And if you wait for the government to push you through it at 71, you pay their price. Margaret chose her own exit. She paid 20 cents on the dollar instead of 43 cents. She kept her OAS intact. She filled her TFSA with money she moved out of the RRSP at the cheapest moment possible. David contributed faithfully for 35 years and is paying for not having a plan. The plan is not complicated. It is just something your bank will never explain to you, because every dollar that stays in your managed RRSP product is another year of management fees flowing the other way. So share this with someone who is approaching retirement with a large RRSP and no withdrawal strategy. You might be about to save them tens of thousands of dollars. I'm Grace. This is Money Glow Up, and I'll see you in the next one.